But this is a warmer place. That's good. And so we need to, I can click here. It's okay now, this one? It's, oh yeah, yes. People think I'm Hispanic too. My three children, they all spent 4 years in their high school learning Spanish. They passed the AP test of Spanish. But it's difficult for me to learn. Okay, I'm old. So. And these are my students. And without students, I would not be able to do much. Okay, so I count on my students, basically. So today, I'm going to show you that social media mining has a lot of interesting problems for AI and data science, okay? It is, so I think you all know all of these, right? And I don't want to emphasize more because I don't want to, also we start late, okay? I try to catch up with some time, okay? So the key is we have a lot of data. Big data helps research, especially large language models. But today, for this talk, I'm going to show you that social media mining it has new type of data. And for this new type of data, we have novel challenges. We can answer new questions because we have this lens, new lens. And then what we emphasize now is from problem solvers to problem finders. So that's the new demand for our students, okay? So before we are trained, when I was a student, we were trained just to solve problems. We still need to solve problems, but we also need to find new problems. But where to find new problems? This is I'm going to show you for social media mining because we have new data, so we can ask a lot of interesting questions. So first, I want to show you that we can ask a fundamental questions, okay? Fundamental questions, they are intrinsic to social media data. Without social media data, you would not ask these questions. So one is big data paradox. I will explain this later. Then noisy removal fallacy. I'm sure most of you have taken like a data mining or machine learning, or you have some idea about this. Basically, in the past, what we say is garbage in, garbage out. But for social media, there's a lot of garbage. If you remove garbage, you don't have anything, right? Especially now X, right? So much garbage out there. But he didn't say this because he's from Google, but I can say it, right? So evaluation dilemma. Evaluation dilemma is like this. For data mining and machine learning, you always have like some ground truth, and you can evaluate. But for social media mining, it is different. If you already have the ground truth, then you don't need to do it. I can also show you this. Basically, I don't want to spend too much time. This is about evaluation dilemma. I don't have ground truth, but how can I still evaluate? For graduate students, for professors, we need to publish, right? But if you want to publish and you cannot evaluate, the reviewers won't accept your papers, okay? So the next set of, too fast. Next set of question is, I think intriguing question is, you can ask, okay, who are the influential on social media? And then is the sample good enough? For students, you always know, we need to collect the data, right? We need to collect the data. But you cannot ask students collect the data forever. But we also know that if we don't collect enough data, then our results won't be credible. That's the one, right? So we ask the question, when we collect data, we keep asking question, is the sample good enough for me to do research? And then how good is the utility privacy trade-off? If we use social media nowadays, right? Do we have privacy? So we will try to answer this question. Then making a difference. and detecting disinformation, combating cyberbullying. This morning there was talk about this combating this cyberbullying, right? Then we also want to preserve privacy, so we can do something good for using social media mining. So I'm going to use these 3 examples to show you, all right? But I will go through quickly. If you have questions, just let me know, stop. Feel free to ask a question. It's a very cozy room. We should be able to find time to discuss. Okay, so the first one is the big data paradox. The question is, social media data is big or not? What do you think? It's big, huh? Okay, it's big. So let's move on. What is big data? Big data is 4 V's, right? People say 4 V's. If you don't know 4 V's, you can check, huh? Because at least the size is volume, right? It's big, huh? Then a practitioner's answer is more nuanced. Big data for machine learning, big data can have a different meaning. I will also show you later, okay? So then big social media data can be little or thin. Big social media data can be little or thin. And when our data alone isn't big enough, we need the data, right? So we have to make it little data bigger and thin data thicker. Now I want to convince you why social media data for normal people, it is big. For data miner, it is not. Why it is not? Because most of us are in the long tail. Think about yourself. How much data do you leave on social media, right? We have these influencers. They left a lot of data, but usually they are paid to be on the social media, right? These companies, they want to make money from average people. We don't leave a lot of data. Okay, that's why the useful data is not a lot. It's thin and little. But then what's the question? The question is, how can I make little data bigger and thin data thicker, right? So this is an example. I want to show you that it's a feature selection problem, okay? You want to select the relevant features. This is a relevant feature. This is like, I have 2 equally relevant features. And this one is, I have 1 relevant feature and 1 useless feature, irrelevant feature, okay? So this one, I just use this feature. I can separate these 2 classes. This one, I can use either one. That's why the other one is redundant. And for this one, this feature is useful. This feature is not, right? It's irrelevant because I cannot separate these 2. So I just want to show you that I can do feature selection and make little data bigger. So let's assume a toy problem. This is the one data set, another data set. Which data set is bigger? If you just look at the size, this is bigger, right? But I try to tell you this data actually is smaller than this data. Why? Because the space of this data, think about it, huh? It's binary. I have 10 features. So that's why I only have like 5 instances here. I have equally 5 instances, but I only have 3 features. So what's the difference here? Okay, I should click faster. So I told you, right? This data actually is smaller than this data. In terms of what? In terms of the labeled data. Remember, when we want to make a classifier very powerful, we need a lot of labeled data. And this one, we have how much? After feature selection, I have like over 50% of the labeled data. But this one is less than 0.5%. You see, that's why this data set is bigger than this data set. It looks smaller, but actually bigger. Okay? It makes sense, huh? For machine learning people, it makes sense, right? Okay. So then the question is, Does feature selection always work? Almost all the time, it works for high dimensional data. Okay. And then we also have a tool here for use. All right. So this is like a feature selection can make data bigger and almost always work. And where to find? We can use scikit feature. This is like something. It's this SIG KDD, whatever the blog, they talk about the scikit feature. So it's this repository still works. The student who created this one is now as an assistant professor at University of Virginia. Okay, so we can also use the additional information for data thickening. So I want to show you how to make the data thicker, okay? Because social media data has linked information, right? It's not like a tabular data. It has linked information. It also has other sources of information like a sentiment, like, whatever, follow, all of these. And are there a series to guide us in link information, in using link information? Yes. So we work with social scientists. We work with social scientists. We learn their theories, like a social inference and a homophily. But these theories, they developed in their field. But for social media data, we still need to know, do they work, right? It's not, sometimes you can just like transfer the theory from one domain to another domain, but you cannot just blindly do it, okay? So then, we need to extract the distinctive relations from linked data for feature selection. Okay, I still use feature selection to show you how we can do it and make the additional information, to make use the additional information for our purpose, okay? So this is the one, social media data, all right? In the middle, this is tabular data, right? The standard machine learning or data mining data. But now we know posts belong to users. And we also have social context. We also have user information, because some users are friends of other users, right? So this, we can have this kind of information. And then, for example, we have co-post, co-following, co-followed, following, these four relations, right? So for example, this U4 is co-followed by U1 and U3, okay? Right, this kind of thing. And then, this co-followed U4, if you look from the U4. But if you look from these, you can also look at co-post, and they post the same post, and they follow the same person, right? All of these, you can have these four different relations. We use two co-following users, like this is the theory. Two co-following users share similar topics of interest. If they follow the same person, that means something. That's actually the theory of homophily, okay? So what do? You just say, hey, this part is standard feature selection, okay? That's how you minimize this error. And this is, you want to do feature selection, so you want to make the vectors as small as possible. And this one is a topic similarity. You want to make these two, their topics, as similar as possible, right? You minimize the whole thing. I just want to show you one example how to do this. So now I just move on. Okay, we can do it. I use feature selection as an example to show these co-post, co-following, co-followed, and following, these four relationships, all right? For the feature selection. So what's the deal here? The deal, remember, if I can have a lot of labeled data, I can do better in machine learning and data mining. Yes, right? But now, this is the training data, okay? I use only 5% of training data, 25%, 50%, 100% training data. And I test on the tested data, okay? We try to avoid this leakage problem, but this is like just a separate. Okay, you do feature selection, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the very standard feature selection methods. They don't use link information. They don't use, okay? They don't use. What we do is we just select 50% of each, 50 features, 100 features, 200 features, and 300 features. Usually they are way more than 300 features, okay? But what we showed you here is you only need to use 5% of the training data because you use the information, the additional information. You can achieve the accuracy as if you use 100% of the training data. Do you see? You save like 95% of the training data. So it's a big deal. What does that mean? That means the additional information on social media is very powerful, okay? So you don't have to label so much data. You can just use the additional information to do the work. Is it clear? Yes, huh? That's good. So, very sensitive, this one. This is just summary. I want to show you the label data is costly to obtain, then label data should be efficiently used. That's the one example. I showed you that, okay, big data is not big. We still want to make it bigger, and we want to make it thicker. Thicker means I just don't have, for us, right? We like I have a Google account. I also have a Facebook account. I think Mark does not have. He refuses to use WhatsApp. Okay, so then also I have LinkedIn. Do you see this? On each platform, I only have a slice of little data. But I put together, these slices you put together, actually you make data thicker, right? That's what one of my former students, he did for his thesis. Like he is now an associate professor at the Syracuse University. Okay, I just talked about this, then I just quickly move on to this, and then I will show you this one, okay? This one is probably more interesting. And it's about misinformation in the age of what? Large language models, okay? So this is the one, it's about trade-off. And I just will quickly go through this one, the user data and its utility. Basically, we have the data, right? And people would like to use our data to do something. Companies would like to make money, and but for us, we want to have the utility so that we get what we want. Okay, so it makes sense, huh? All right, but that's personalized services, right? Okay, so this is the next one. User browsing histories can reveal privacy. This is the one. And actually, this student is with Google at the moment. After she graduated, she joined Google. I advised her not to. No, I'm kidding. The students would like to go. However, this time, though, a current student chose to go to NVIDIA or something because the publicity, huh? All right. Adversaries can infer different types of personally identifiable information, PII, okay? So web browsing history is fingerprintable. So people can look at your web browsing history, they actually can pinpoint you, okay? So then what's the danger? Then the users can be vulnerable to potential harms. Okay, I don't think I need to say too much. And this is definitely a cybersecurity problem, okay? People are doing this. This is another person's work. It's not our work. We just use this to motivate this piece of work. Basically, you browsing history, you can find that person. So what's the solution then? What's the solution? The solution is we have to make a trade-off, right? And but of course, the user's view of privacy and utility can be considered as a normal distribution. On one extreme, they don't care about privacy, right? They say, I don't need privacy. I just need a service. On the other hand, other side, they want what? They said, I want privacy. I don't care. So it's fine. We don't care about these two sides of people, but we just care about the people in the middle. I want utility, but I also want privacy, okay? So that's why we have the trade-off. Anonymization is a chosen means to do this. So if my browsing history can be anonymized, then my privacy will be preserved, right? But there's a problem, right? Then my utility also will be reduced. So that's not good. And can we do better? Our question is, so what do you mean by doing better? It's a trade-off. You said it's a trade-off. If you do better here, you have to do worse there. But I want to show you, this student is smart. That's why Google hired her. Huh? And she said, hey, you can do both. Okay, so this is the problem, but I don't want to. But the problem is just like I have a browsing history and the link topic, and we seek to learn and to anonymize her to create a modified history by adding links. So idea is to add links, okay? Add links. So if you want to add links, browsing histories are links. If you add links, what can you add? One is just add random links, right? Another is just add the links of your friends. Intuitive solution, right? Any other solutions? But we ask what else? And the question becomes how to add new links. But if you just add like a random links, add them your friends' links, these are intuitive solutions anybody can think of. If we add links now, this is adding links. We also want to know how many links you should add, okay? So he developed this privacy booster idea, okay? Privacy booster idea. So there are two components. One is to select links. Then you decide what links you should add. So the idea is also very, very straightforward. Huh? It is like this. If you add random links, you anonymize, but you lose what? Utility. Among the random links, you still can find those links with the topic similar to you. Do you see the idea? Still random links. But you can select some of the links. Their topics are similar to you. Then you can you add random links, but you don't lose utility, okay? Then you ask, does that work? To what extent? So we have to ask, can Privacy Booster preserve privacy? How does Privacy Booster change the utility? Does it work, right? How good it is for the trade-off. So this is the result. You just trust okay, we can evaluate, we can measure attack success rate. Attack success rate is what? Attack success rate is about privacy, right? It's the opposite of the privacy, yes? If your privacy is high, attackers will have will be less successful, okay? So then the utility. What is the utility? How do we measure utility? We just do this because we know the utility is about this person's interest. So if before randomization or anonymization, the topic is similar to after anonymization, then the utility should be the same, right? Agree? Okay, so these are the two measures. So what do we show here is this is a friend. If you add the friends links actually the successful rate for attackers will increase. And this is for the randomized. This is a anonymization with random links. So it's very good, you see, right? Because the success rate reduced sharply. But the purple one is the P booster. So it decreases with this random links, the random anonymization, but not as good as this. And then for the utility, so you can see, use friends links, utility remains the same because your friends are similar to you, okay? Your friends their interests should be similar to you. Otherwise, you're not friends. And then for the random anonymization, the anonymization with the random links, you see the utility decreases fast. And for this one, it decreases gracefully. You see this? So then you find the sweet spot. The sweet spot is here, lambda. So we keep the utility, but we still anonymize. You see, this is a better trade-off, basically. There's a theory behind it. The theory behind it is small world. You have heard of small world theory, right? Duncan Watts' thesis, basically. And he showed that actually, if you add a few random links, you can make your network, the cluster, you can still maintain the clustering coefficient, and you can significantly decrease the average path length. But this is the theory behind it, okay? Of course, we did this first, then we thought about what's the theory behind it, okay? So now, this is basically we show that, yeah, you can do this, okay? It's a very smart idea. Usually, from my point of view, smart ideas are simple, but just like effective. But just you didn't think about it. But she thought about this. Uh-oh. The last piece is use social media to do good. So this is like, people show that 10 wonderful examples of using AI for good, okay? And to spot fake news. But of course, he is just a journalist, right? He didn't know how difficult it is to detect fake news. It's not that easy at all, okay? Not easy at all. He thought like you can just like artificial intelligence to find the words and patterns that could indicate the fake news. But it's not that straightforward. It is definitely a good example for us to study, all right? So the question for you probably think like, can large language models to do that? Remember in the morning, there's a talk about this large language model. They use large language models to spot this cyberbullying. Do you think it works? What do you think? Large language models? It should not work, okay? So it's like, okay, let's see this one. And how about now with ChatGPT? Now I have a large language model. Before it was hard. Now it is even harder, okay? Yeah, whatever we did, it would not work. It will not work anymore. Why? Because ChatGPT or GPT or Gemini or whatever, these large language models, they will help these people to generate better fake news, better misinformation, okay? More pervasive, better written, all right? So this is fake news. I don't think I will spend too much time. You understand this? Basically, it's bad to have misinformation, all right? And confusing readers, misleading people to false information, and changing the way people respond to credible news. Now, for me also, I don't trust anything. I always have to ask the question, is this real? Is this real? Okay. And so it would be good to deal with this. But why it is so challenging? we just say fake news detection is hard. Okay. Usually people just think like you can use a competition to do it. But this is not. It's not another competition because we don't have ground truth. Because things change, right? Now, I think Brazil, they finished their general election, and the US will have US general election. So the 2022, 2024 general election is different from 2020. 2020 is different from 2016. So they're all different. This is one. So if you win a competition, that does not mean you can do a good job, all right? Then the humans are susceptible to fake news. Why? It's because of this confirmation bias, okay? All of us, including me. So usually because we don't have enough resources, right? The time, the energy, the knowledge. So what we do is like whatever confirms my belief, it's true. But it's not, right? It's not because we are all limited, okay? So there's 5 conventional challenges for fake news detection. One is topics change. I just already mentioned this. The second one is if you really want to prepare for fake news or misinformation, we have to detect early, not late. So then the ground truth, we don't have ground truth because there's always a lag, right? And then it's costly. It's not to get the ground truth. Explainability. Now, the solution is a human in the loop. So you have a system, detection system, you put it in an expert, domain expert, like a journalist. They are trained, or a team of them, they are trained to detect. So you want to work together, right? AI and the human experts. But how do you make them, these human experts, comfortable? That's the one thing. Another question is, how can you impart the knowledge of the experts to the system, right? That's another thing. These two things, so explainability is very important, okay? And then the next one is about, the last one is about mitigation. So you detect, you want to mitigate, but it's not that easy, okay? And then at least then people say, can you contain the diffusion of misinformation? So this is like also not easy to do. Why? Because social media involves users, and users, their mind is very difficult to change. Think about yourself, okay? It's very difficult for you or for anyone to change their mind. Only you realize it's important to them. Oh, why it's so, oh, I should show you this one, right? Oh, this one, right? Facing misinformation with large language models. So I just say disruption. So for detection, for fact checking, for explaining. So you have a lot of disruption because the old methods may not work at all. Oh yeah, I just mentioned this. So what worked may not work anymore. So large language models have no commitment to the truth. I think, Mark, you talked about this. It's the hallucination, and they are very confident. Usually they are so confident, right? You heard about the story about the one lawyer presented the case and just asked the ChatGPT to prepare. Then he was smart. He was like a Harvard trained, okay? He was Harvard trained. He was smart. How smart he was? He was worried the case prepared by the ChatGPT might not be true. So what did he do? Guess what? What did he do? You don't know? He asked the ChatGPT. Yeah. ChatGPT said, yes, of course. That's what he told the judge, okay? And so, yeah, you can just ask a legal assistant, right, to check it out. But he didn't. He was so lazy. He lost the case, of course, right? Because the 4 or 6 cases prepared by the ChatGPT, maybe 3 of them non-existent, and also had like fake references. Okay, so this is the one. Like ChatGPT is heralded as a game changer for generating better fake news or comments or convincing profiles and faster. So a lot of people are using this kind of large language models to do things. The large language models can make misinformation more convincing and spread fast. Okay. And I can show you this first. Like this one is one example, asked for examples of sexual harassment at law school. ChatGPT named a George Washington professor accused of touching a student on the class trip to Alaska, citing Washington Post story. What's the risky part? The professor is real. The rest was made up. You can actually find that professor. But actually, people then did the follow-up. They found that the professor actually did the opposite. Okay? But so it's not like it could cause the professor could be fired by the university, right? If the president believed in this ChatGPT. Okay, so make up of facts, and for one law professor, it went too far, it says. But this is another case. Basically, they made up things, okay? But fortunately, people found out, okay? But fake news, ChatGPT has a knack for making up phony anonymous sources harder and harder for us to tell apart fake or real, because they have sources. They give you the sources, and they usually write very long pieces of things. So they're like truth and fake news mixed up. So more examples of disruption. This is about a suicide case. It's not necessarily ChatGPT, but it's chatbot. Okay, this is the case, and this is about confidential information can be leaked, and people may become more vulnerable. Okay, this is like people can do this network of fake profiles, and people also use two large language models to generate conversations. They do this. Okay, so now we have new challenges. Can we do detection as usual? We can't. Actually, Mark and I, we discussed, and in the long run, it's hopeless for us to do it, because we use large language models. Large language models learn from what we have, and quickly it will be polluted. The whole field will be polluted. Very difficult. But still, we try to, right? We still try to detect. Some people or companies claim they can detect large language model generated text with high accuracy. But if they have this kind of a claim, you have to be careful, basically. They use like a perplexity, this kind of a thing. The moment you can generate some measures, large language models can handle all of these things, okay? Just, you also learn about prompt engineering, right? Basically, if you can design sophisticated prompt engineering, you can generate a lot of very sophisticated these messages. While detection becomes harder, so are fact checking and explaining. Because you cannot even detect, how can you do fact checking, okay? So it's very difficult to say. However, I assume we have a lot of computer scientists here, right? So the thing is, for me, I always believe that we have challenges, we have opportunities. Just like how can we do it, okay? So we are still doing these this kind of research and see how can we leverage that use large language models for good. So it's powerful. Can we use ChatGPT for detection, fact checking, and explaining? It is a cool idea. You can try, but you have to be careful. Okay. Actually, I think I read somewhere OpenAI, they try to produce this detector by themselves and they showed that it didn't work. Okay. It's they have all the data. We don't, right? So if they couldn't do it, how can we? So this is it's very difficult. Then large language models learn from humongous data. Can we leverage them? That's an idea. Okay. We usually try to leverage this large language models. From my point of view, it's just a very good, should I say, it's a summary or it's a function that's trained on very large language or very large amount of data. So we can do like for data generation or augmentation. So I have like one student working with this this kind of a thing to augment the data to do something, okay? And then can we work with large language models, domain adaptation? So I have students work on the domain adaptation as well. Of course, you already mentioned that you heard about the zero shot and few shot learning. These that's people are trying. Okay, people are trying. One student from my group is attending this NeurIPS, and a lot of papers they say over there they say large language models work, but you have to be careful. Okay, so all right, I just talk about these three things: big data paradox, how good is the utility, the privacy trade-off, and then detecting disinformation. But I haven't touched all of these other things. And the future work, like what are the fundamental problems? We study causal learning because people are not satisfied with correlation. So we want to see the causal learning. And low resource learning is about like you have very little data and how can you build a strong learner? And then algorithmic and versus user bias. Algorithms have algorithms bias because it's intrinsic to the data they trained on. And then humans, we also biased, okay? But these two types of biases are different biases. Can we make use of the two biases intelligently? So we have also intriguing questions and online, offline behavior. So you see, we have like a lot of online data. We also have offline data. Think about the COVID, right? Think about the COVID. So we have online data, we have offline data. Then how can we use them skillfully? And then we reproducibility issue. Now that's the issue, okay? If you cannot reproduce, so usually you have to suspect that piece of work, okay? So reproducibility is very important. And then the machine versus human text generation. So we want to separate them. I already told you, like Mark and I, we talked about it because Mark said, what are you working on? I said, this one. Mark then said, do you think you can do it? In the long run, I don't think so. But before the time is there, then can we do something, at least for now? And then we can prepare for more challenging tasks. So making a difference, right? Containing disinformation, mitigating unintended social bias. These are all very difficult problems because we think we are fair now. Probably 20 years later, our fair solution is not fair at all 20 years later, right? Because we are growing as a society, we evolve. And then the enabling the powerless. That's the thing, like we are all powerless on social media, and maybe Mark is not. So how can we make individual powerless individual to have more voice? Okay, have you probably you observe this too. A person can be very, very nasty online when he is anonymous, but offline he can be very nice, right? This kind of thing. A lot of happen. That's one thing. Another one is on social media. What you see is you see the extreme voice. Usually, extreme voice, more controversial voice, they have more followers because people just like they debate, they try to convince the other side, right? But so then we think like the majority of people are also extreme, but that's not true. The most people are still nice people, but we are just quiet. You see, we don't say anything, right? So the majority, we don't say anything. Majority people are nice. And the extreme people, offline, they could be nice too. But some people, of course, they are very consistent, okay, online, offline. Then what do we do here is for social media data, right? But 10 years later, right? There could be something else. So what do we do here now? Prepare us for the future, okay? So there could be new type of data in the future. And these are my students. I have many students with Google, so the Google should pay me. Then we have at least 3, but most of my students, they are professors. They are and the recent ones, like this one, just a recent one, he just joined in September, Northwestern University. Okay, these are the ones. So I have to thank my students. I told you, without my students, I should retire, basically. And these are my current students. I still have 18 PhD students. And I have these topics like causal learning, AI for good, data efficient learning, disinformation detection, machine human generated text, online, offline. These are the funding support for my students. And thank you. Thank you. And these are the books. I have this book. You see this book. This book is Social Media Mining. I present a copy to the director. You can because they have like 300 students here. So right you can put it in the lab, the library. So then we have, this is actually free, available online. Okay, PDF is free. Before publication, we had an agreement with the publisher, Cambridge University Press. They allow us to put the PDF online. And for professors, we also have slides available online. And this is about trust. This is about socially responsible. This is, this first author is at Syracuse University. First author at Michigan State. He is already a foundation professor, he is not even 40 years old. And this is first author is with the University of Illinois, Chicago. She is working on the socially responsible AI. This Kai-Su is for detection and fake news, but this old school now. It's old school before large language model. He is with the Illinois Institute of Technology. And this is like Twitter data analytics. We have done a lot of work on social media domain. And we have a survey. These are all available online. Learning causality, privacy, causal interpretability, all of these. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you. I think I finished in 40 minutes? 40 minutes, right? I saved you some time. You should thank me. Thank you.
There is some question. Yeah.
Yes.
This is for the.
Oh, for the online people, for the recording.
Okay, sorry, I forgot. You said that you work together with social scientists a lot, and social scientists ask questions like, if now someone posts this message, what is the effect of that on someone else or something else? But then you have this exchange or interference problem, spillover problem, which you also saw in your graph. How do you normally deal with that? Or does also maybe this link randomization maybe help in that, also for doing maybe inter-cluster interference or
Yeah, first,
non-interference?
okay, in the US, right, we're not allowed to study individual interactions. So sort of like we're not, I don't know why, but basically we are not supposed to. So we only study like between the groups. We study groups. So there's anonymization. So what do we learn from social scientists? Because in that book, right, you can see like we have a lot of interesting examples we learned from social science. And actually, undergraduate students, they were very impressed. In the beginning, they thought like social science is too soft, okay? But actually, after we show so many interesting, they solved so many interesting problems in an ingenious way, they were very impressed. In this book, we cite a lot of such examples. So what we also do is we have regular meetings with them. So basically, this way we get pick their brain. So the one I consult the most, his name is Russ Bernard. Actually, he is also in Mexico City, but he stays in Reforma, that hotel, downtown. So he's also in Mexico City. And he's a National Academy of Sciences member. So yeah, that's what we do for this. So for our interaction with, so my students basically, we encourage them to just learn these social science theories and interact with social scientists. They have problems, they talk to us, and we talk to them. So specific things, so it depends. Like we just, if we have different opinions, we trust the social scientists more, like at the moment, because it's about the human. At the end, it's about the human, right? I don't know if I answered your question, but basically, I just try to tell everyone here is like we genuinely read psychology books, social science books, and we work with them. So what's your background?
Economics and mathematics.
Oh,
But
yeah. Also sort of
yeah.
like social
I'm
science.
working in causality, and I always have
Causality?
an issue with
Okay.
this interference effects. Like
Yes.
if you have these bidirect errors.
Yeah, very difficult.
And that's why, how do you deal in
Yeah, I know
them?
economics. So you guys are doing a lot for causal learning, right? But we do something a little different. Like we just follow like do the opposed way, right? So you guys doing more like these Ruben, this Harvard professor Ruben, right? So they're
Ruben,
yeah. So it is. They also, I think, in his book, Why to the Opposed, the book Why. I think he tried to reconcile with Ruben's work. What do you call this? Imputation, right? I think basically it's they just consider the problem as an imputation problem. So from Ruben's, I know there are a lot of work. So we don't have time. What we do is we try to learn causality from observational data. It's not possible for some people, yeah, but it's the opportunity also. Why do we believe we can, now this is a problem we can study? Because nowadays we have like a different facets of data. So instead of just one source of data, we have different facets of data. And also the machine learning, these deep learning algorithms, and very powerful. But then of course, we also have to make a lot of assumptions. Yeah. It's yeah, we need to learn from economics. Actually, I have all of these books, just too many books to read. It's very not easy. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait for time to ask.
When you're doing future selections, there is since it's working on social science as well, don't you lose connections
Yeah.
between the features as well, which is important to,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yes. Yeah. Even just for feature selection study, we also do. Yes, we consider this. For example, the simplest method is you can select one feature at a time, but then it does not consider much about the interaction of the features. But you can also study like by removing one feature at a time. These are the very simple methods, like by removing one feature at a time, so you don't lose the you take into account the interaction among the features. But when the number of features is huge, these rudimentary methods may not be effective. Like especially when you don't have a lot of data. Like the data is for medical field. I think Antonio is from NIH, so you from if you study the patient data, usually you want to study rare diseases. And if it's rare, then you don't have a lot of patients. So the problem is you have a fat data, large language, many features, but you only have very few instances, like samples. Yeah, these are all the problems, but people try to study. That's why people still cite our work for feature selection. It works. And of course, there are new methods. People probably try to use large language models to do feature selection. Actually, I should ask my students to see if they can do it. Yeah, right?
Yeah. I don't want to monopolize the questions, but there is another question because you were talking about the trade-off PII and
with the utility.
With utilities or services.
Yeah.
What about as well, I mean, because you were working on social media and then you can find PHI, which is protected health information as well. How you deal with this? I mean, PII, which is, right. I mean, they overlap, but you can find PHI as well.
Yes. You see, but I haven't worked on this. It's a very important problem, even more important, because for privacy utility trade-off, you can sacrifice something. For PHI, you can't, right? Basically, these are the personal health related information, and it can be very damaging. For example, people can use the information not to hire you or not to give you the insurance, or all of these things. I agree. It's very important problem. Yeah. But we haven't, my lab, we haven't done, but my students, after they moved away, they all have their own like research groups. Some of them, they work on healthcare problem. Yeah. It's important problem.
Yeah. It's a problem that we are facing as well there, because we are working with large language models, and we don't know how. Yeah,
exactly. I just showed you, right?
Yeah.
Samsung example.
Yeah.
Like people find out like the trade secret from Samsung actually was made publicly available. Why? Because the employees, they used their model. They trained to use your data. And if you're smart enough, prompt engineering actually can retrieve a lot of things. That's the danger of the large language model.
Any other question? Otherwise, I have the last question.
Okay, sure.
I promise the last one.
Yeah.
And what about in social science, to advance social science as well? You didn't talk about this one, but it's related to large language models and annotating data.
Yeah, we do. We try this annotated data, but still it's an issue. Okay, so my students, they spend a lot of money, my money, okay? Of course, the research funding. Yeah, grant money. They use like, they say that GPT-4 is better. Then they have to spend money. And quickly, I have thousands of dollars to spend. My question for them is, after a few $1,000 spent, I said, you have to talk to me. Number one, I want to make sure that other people can reproduce your result. You cannot say you use this, you produce this, and other people cannot reproduce. What's the point, right? Then that's number one. Number two, I want to make sure that whatever you did is correct. How do you verify it's correct? Okay, I always ask them, but hey, that's very interesting. What's my student's answer? So sometimes they actually can find the paper online, say you can do this. Do you see this? They just use the published paper to answer my question. So what can I do? Then I still let them reimburse, right? But I'm reluctant. I don't want to use this to annotate because I cannot trust. It's a hallucination problem. How could I know? Okay, the danger of using large language model is you only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. And for what you don't know, and how can you verify, right? You can't. If you cannot verify, then what's the point? But my students are very persistent because nowadays you have to use large language model. They do like I'm not saying just Google, like a lot of companies, they just want to hire people, they use large language models, right? Students just do all of these things. They just ignore me. What can I do? They want to graduate. So I'm fine. Like as long as they can answer my questions. Yeah. Thank you. Very good question. Annotation. My students are doing this too. Okay. But I try to check on them. I want them to give me the evidence. Like people already have done some research. They show that, okay, for this domain, actually, if you do this, it's not random. You can get something. So yeah, thank you. Very good question.
No, it's just so because you have really high standards, I can feel it. So they're in the system 996 as well. The Chinese system 996.
Oh, I don't know. Chinese, they work very hard. My students are okay. I just encourage them to come to the lab. That's number one. Number two, if they want to work, I work with them. I don't push them. Because nowadays, like you never know. Because of the COVID, a lot of students are depressed. But you cannot tell, right? They can look happy, but they could be depressed. So if they want to work, I just work with them. If they cannot produce, when the project ends, then they don't have funding. But this is. Thank you. 996 won't work. No, won't work for our research. It won't work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you very much for this excellent talk. Now we keep on with the program, which we will announce in a few minutes. Is there the next speaker here?
Mariano Gómez, ay, por favor. ¿Le pasaste tu diapositiva? Sí, excelente.
¿Están ahí?
Yeah, thank you. I have a book for you. Oh, yeah. I have a book. Socially responsible.
¿El correo? ¿El correo de quién? Ya va después lo otro. ¿Tienes tu presentación? ¿Yo te lo por correo? Sí, por favor. A checarlo. Perfecto, de una vez la cargamos. Cargamos, sí, por favor, en lo que cargamos.
Perdón, ¿cuál es el correo?
Sí, hcalvo @ sic con C y C punto IPN n punto MX. Exacto. Ahorita lo cargo.